America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Don't label us left or right. Our American. Not looking for a war, but we came to fight. Our American. Somebody's gotta stand up. Stand up. Somebody's gotta do what's right. We're rising cause we're fed up. Got our house in order and got yours inside.
All right. Welcome to Sovereign Mind Radio, or Sovereign Mind Podio cast.
Podcast.
There you go. Today is Monday, November 29th,
I was going to say, you should know that date.
I should.
Yeah, happy birthday. I forgot to say something earlier. So there you go. Happy birthday.
It's the 34th anniversary of my 30th birthday.
Don't you wish?
No, it is. Okay, so we're here in the studio again. This week we've got some good stuff going. I want to remind everybody that we need to donate. We need to have donations to continue these podcasts and these radio programs. So we need checks and money. And you can make them out to Pecan, Patriots Educating Concerned Americans Now, which, by the way, we've failed to mention because, we're kind of new at this here. And it is a 501c3, and the donations are tax deductible.
Right.
And please write media in the reference line, and the address is
14421 Old Oregon Trail, Suite B, Redding, California, 96003. You can always give us a call at 530-221-0101. Well, I can take credit cards if you prefer to do it that way.
Whatever you can do is appreciated, so we can keep this stuff up on the air.
Helps.
Yeah, and we're getting better and better at the podcast. They're starting to smooth out. We're starting to like what we're doing here. And we're brought to you by Mountaintop Media in conjunction with the Red, White, and Blueprint Project. And you can go to the chat room at YouTube. I was on there the first time this morning, as a matter of fact. And
I'm trying Facebook right now on that. But before we move on, speaking of Pecan, I had somebody call me the other day. It was kind of funny, and they said, "Who do I make that check out again to? Is it Acorn?" And I said, no, but you know what? That's how we got the name Pecan, was because of Acorn.
It's true.
So just to let people know.
It was our answer to Acorn, because an Acorn, they morphed and changed their name and to hide their self.
I just thought it was kind of funny, though.
To protect the guilty. And so I'm gonna turn off my sound here and then get on the live broadcast here. So we're not.
I'm on Facebook checking it out with live chat. I'm not seeing anything at the moment, but
I'm gonna go.
I'm gonna write something and see if somebody responds.
So I'm in the chat room now on not Facebook, but YouTube, and it seems to be working just fine. So you should be Sovereign Minds episode 14. And we're going live right now, so I'm going to put test in there and see if anybody else is in there.
Yeah, I put on Facebook. I put in the chat, so we'll see.
All right. So with that said, do we have any other announcements? There is the 4 o'clock thing that we have to worry, or 4:30?
4:30 today?
Yes.
At the... Oh, I was going to remember the name of it. It's over by Axner's. They're doing, bring the pair of shoes at 4:30.
Right.
It doesn't have to be a brand new pair of shoes. It's just a pair of shoes so that they can,
signify the kids that are out of school and everything
else. And the parents
I'm trying to pull it up right now so we're not stumbling over ourselves.
I can't remember. I know it's at 4:30.
We'll bring it up in the broadcast farther into the broadcast. We might as well introduce our guest. He's on the phone, I believe. We've got Kevin Crye. And he's running for District 1 in Shasta County against Joe Chimente. I think I know who he is. I think I've seen him at the board meetings, but I'm not positive if we're talking about the same guy. I think it was. I think he was at the board meeting. Correct me if I'm wrong. Are you there, Kevin?
Yes, sir.
And you talked to Joe, I guess you're his neighbor, about running or something, or talked to him about actually doing something in the right direction for the county?
Well, yeah, I'm not his neighbor, but I've been friends with him for years.
Okay, that's what it was. And so I know who you are, because I seen you at the board meeting, and you're kind of pleading with him. It's like, come on, Joe, do something about this emergency situation where we're getting mandatory lockdowns and mandatory vaccines. And his response wasn't really what you were looking for, was it?
No, and the irony of it is, I'm actually in Dallas, Texas.
Wow.
And I visited the JFK memorial they had, and of course the site where he was assassinated. And then I'm actually at the Holocaust Museum now, and it's there's a lot of irony in the timing of this trip for me, because when I pleaded with Joe, I really thought it was up to him and the other 4 sitting supervisors to do something about our current situation. And now I realize it's really up to you and me and Linda and everybody else that just needs to pitch in wherever they can to make the changes we need, so we don't head to, where our world has been in the last 50, 60 years.
Hey, Kevin, are you on speakerphone or something?
Nope.
Oh, because on my end, it sounds like you're in water or something.
No, I'm in a hallway.
Oh.
You want me to?
I think we're going to have you call back.
Okay, I'll
If
call
you
right back
could.
in.
All right, thanks. We appreciate that. And while he's doing that, I do have the information.
Oh, good. I was looking for it.
Bring a pair of shoes to be placed outside of the countrywide superintendents and principals meetings to protest COVID v mandates. Where? It's today, 4:30 at 2985 Innsbruck, INNSBRUCK Drive.
Well, while we're waiting on Kevin, and I'm going to speak
me.
to this. Here's, Fauci is now saying that he thinks the COVID is not going to go away.
I saw that.
It's
really?
unbelievable. So, of course, it's not going to go away because their emergency powers will never go away. Their protection of the drug companies will never go away. But you also look in on the art where this came from is the doctor in South Africa who discovered this new Omicron variant. By the way, says there's nothing to worry about, only mild symptoms. She's the one that discovers this. So we're going to shut down all of Southern Africa from flying and traveling and everything else. After a while, if you don't get the impression that what this really is not about the virus or any of that, but
Right.
Permanent. They want a permanent emergency.
Yeah, and they'll shut people coming from Africa, but the southern border's just fine, folks.
That's crazy. So do we got Kevin? Okay.
All right, thank you.
So let us know when he's ready to get on here. Oh, very
right.
good.
Are you there, Kevin?
Kevin, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
All right, that's
a
better.
little
We got a
better,
better
I think.
connection. I was going to say, I've been to that 6-4 Daily Plaza there at Kennedy. It's an interesting they got a museum there now, and they show you the shooter's window and the crow's nest there. And what I found very interesting about that whole thing was I didn't realize how steep the road was going out of Daily Plaza towards the freeway.
No, exactly. And I think I'm more Holocaust Museum because we're only talking 60, 70 years ago,
Right.
and now what we're seeing in Australia and Austria and other places, it's like Groundhog's Day.
Wow, it's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, I didn't make it to the Holocaust Museum. I did see the others. So
to begin with, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, if you would, Kevin, and why you decided to run for District 1?
Yeah, you bet. I was born in Orange County in 1976. We moved to Shasta County in 1978. And I've been a Shasta County resident pretty much ever since, except for a couple years in college, and then moved to Oregon for 3 years, around 2008 to 2011, and came back and really thought I'd probably never leave until they had the mandates announced for kids or school-age children. And then we started to look in other states because we just said if that happened here in California, we were going to leave.
Yeah,
And really what we found was it was really not something we were excited about doing, leaving Shasta County. So I went to the board meeting that we spoke of earlier and just pleaded with Joe to maybe, get involved with what Patrick and Les were doing, wanting to join with other counties. And I'm not saying that's the way it has to go, but what we're doing right now isn't working.
well, it's
I
interesting.
think hiding in the shadows.
It's interesting that
Go ahead.
those three seem to always be voting together on generally on just about everything, and they don't seem to want to listen to anything of any information that's contrary to the narrative.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting at first. Now I'm pretty much drinking from a fire hose in terms of trying to learn about what's happened in the greater Redding area and then Shasta County over the last 30 or 40 years. So really, it doesn't surprise me that the people and the decisions that have been made, especially recently, why they support the things they do.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think they're supporting the things they do?
I think it's really just failed and poor leadership. Everybody likes to be a hero or be the person that is well liked. But if somebody would have stood up and really pushed back hard at the beginning, it would have been very unpopular. But I think a couple quick months later, we all realized that there's a lot more to this than just a severe flu out of China.
Well, I
And
think.
I think if the leadership.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I was going to say, I think if the leadership would have jumped on that early, I think we would be in a lot different of a place, at least here in Shasta County.
Well, I think it's about money at this point, and I think that they're trying to prop up the county because they know they're $1 billion in debt underneath on the unfunded liabilities. I think that might be part of it as well. But it's interesting that the more the vaccine gets out there, if you start looking, we're seeing numbers. We're seeing some studies that are showing that the highest rates of countries with the countries with the highest rates of vaccines are the ones that have the most infection or caseload now. So it makes you wonder,
100%.
How can that be if the vaccines are working?
Yeah, well, exactly. And you look at Florida, which is, completely open, and they've got one of the lowest, if not the lowest rate in the country. And what's really troubling is they're constantly attacked. They're attacked from every direction. And it just makes no sense. And then you have a group that says you have to follow the science and you have to understand, the medical part of it. But there's nothing medical or science about it. It's actually completely anti.
I think when you realize that Pfizer made $86 billion this last year, and did you know that the highest fine ever imposed in the United States on any company was Pfizer for criminal negligence in what they do?
I don't doubt it.
Yeah, well, it is. Yeah. It's a fact.
Well, it's quite amazing that clear back, I believe it was like in 2015, they passed a law that they were exempt from being sued.
Well, and then under the emergency.
Yeah, under the emergency that they couldn't be sued as they're doling this out and making all kinds of money, and you start tracking it down. And the people that are involved with Pfizer,
you hate to be cynical, but at the same time, if there's this much money in it and these guys have any effect, I mean, if they've got that much power going in, whether it's the media or there's some kind of connections here, boy, I'll tell you, that's a scary thought. I could see why people would want to not think about it.
Yeah, well, and the other thing too is, if people, what really bothers me about a lot of this is what's doing to the kids.
Yep.
And when people want to talk about, the best thing to combat any illness, right, is just be a healthy and fit individual.
Right.
And
Nobody wants to talk about natural immunity.
Well, nobody wants to talk about
Yeah.
how to improve your health or different things you can do naturally.
100%.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we're not, and there are very, very few people talking about getting kids outside, exercising more, off their devices, eating better meals, drinking more water. Instead, we're going to be so fixated on vaccinating these kids. It's crazy. It's just it's evil and it's bizarre.
Yeah, and there's no end to it. I mean, how many boosters are we up to now? 3, 4? I mean, there's not going to be any end to it.
Yeah, and the things that we can do as a community, like there's a huge meeting tonight. I believe it's at 5 or 6 o'clock. The Shasta County Superintendent of Schools, Judy Flores, is holding a meeting with all the county superintendents, and I believe
it's
at 4:30.
Board member.
It's a secret meeting too, by the way. It's a secret meeting.
Yeah, they're closing the doors, not allowing the public in.
So
yeah, and and in terms of transparency, and the other thing that was funny, is Modi and Rickert were both supposed to meet with her. The meeting was pushed, and they can say all they want, because if you look back at the past board meetings, that meeting was supposed to happen well before this meeting. Never happened. So now they're supposed to meet at this one, and I can't remember which one of them is, if it's Modi or if it's Rickert, but they're not going to be able to attend the meeting tonight. So Joe was asked to go. Why Les, why Patrick weren't invited, I don't know. Maybe they all were. I just know publicly that Joe is attending in lieu of one of the others. And, we're just going to get more of the same. It's going to be completely flying under the radar, not poking the bear. But, meanwhile, we're just getting pushed farther and farther into a corner here in Shasta County, and it's ridiculous.
Well, I think it's going to end up with non-compliance, because I don't understand why that, other than this is a compliance issue, to go after the kids, because, like you say, the science completely is not there to support mandating vaccines for children. There's nobody that's dying. They're not even hardly feeling it. As far as the virus itself is really not having that big of an impact. So why would we mask them up and give them vaccines in the first place? What are they hoping to accomplish at this meeting would be my question.
Yeah, I don't know. I would, I know there's going to be people at that meeting that are going to have the voice of, I would say many of us that want these masks off our kids. We want medical choice and freedom for our kids and for the staff. And I think the people that are there are going to share that information with the public. And I think it's, they should have planned a public meeting, 3 days, 7 days immediately upon scheduling this closed door meeting. I get it. If they want to have a closed door meeting, have a closed door meeting. But then put it on the calendar. Say, hey, we're going to share it with the public what came out of that, and schedule it for a few days after, or even just have a closed session meeting for 2 hours, then open it up to the public after.
Yeah,
the other thing is, I will say Judy Flores. This is history would show that superintendents they usually run unopposed, but this is an election year, and I'll be curious to see if anybody steps up and runs against Judy.
Yeah.
I like Judy. I would call her a friend. I can't say that I know everything. Of course, I don't know everything that she knows of what's going on at the state level, but I also know that I can't imagine kids in masks is what our community wants for their kids.
Well, I think the corruption.
We'll see what happens.
I think the corruption is much deeper than everybody has realized with the governing bodies, whether it's the school board or the county or whatever. And you're absolutely right. The way that we got to get control of this stuff is we got to have citizens running and opposing these people, so they just don't keep getting elected over and over again. Modi's a prime example, but like you say, if the school board, if people go in there and they run unopposed, then it's the same thing over and over again. You're going to get the same results.
But I think the community is starting to speak up more and get involved more. They're realizing when the elections are now, we have a whole bunch of offices. 4 or 5 people
that are running for school boards.
Yeah,
who've never run for a position in their life.
Yeah.
And it can be a long, arduous process to affect the change we want, but it's the only thing that's going to make a difference. I didn't set out in any way, shape, or form, and it's not And the mask thing is just one thing. I mean, there's going to be other things too. Like I think a lot more needs to be done for small business. I think we really have to make public safety. I mean, everybody talks about it. It's always a campaign slogan. Oh, I back the blue or the thin blue line, or I support law enforcement. But, you know, a lot of that's just lip service. If people really supported it, we'd get a jail built. We'd clean up our streets. You know, Lake Boulevard down there by the old Shopko wouldn't look like, you know, San Francisco 20 years ago. Not San Francisco today, but I mean, when you go down Lake Boulevard and you see some of these places where homeless encampments are, I mean, there's a lot of ways that can get cleaned up, and it doesn't just, it really falls at the feet of our leaders and how we're spending our money and what we value spending all of our money on. And all these ridiculous social programs where where every 3 people have a manager, and that manager's got a supervisor, and that supervisor's got a director. It's ridiculous. I mean, we don't need the vast amount of social programs. Obviously, they're not working. Our community is getting much worse. A new way of thinking of how we're going to be spending our money needs to change. I think we need to bring, at the very forefront, we need to make sure we have a much, much bigger jail, more beds. We need to bring back, a mental hospital, and either tell people, hey, you're going to follow the law or you're going to be incarcerated. And if you don't want to be incarcerated, you don't want to follow the law, move to Tehama County, move to Butte County, get out of Shasta County.
Kevin, would you be in favor of ending the Emergency Authorization Act that has been put onto us by our governor?
There?
Yes.
Yeah, we're here.
Can you hear me?
Kevin?
Hello? I think we lost him.
When he got better, we lost him, maybe. Are you still there, Kevin? Kevin?
All right.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
We appreciate
maybe
that.
what we can do is let's run the JP clip. Let's get that up there, and we'll run that while we're waiting on Kevin to come back, and we can ask him about the Emergency Authorization Act.
Yeah, I have a few other questions to ask him about, where he sits.
So, yeah, let's play this. It goes to, I think, 2:50 or something in 2 minutes and 48 seconds. Go ahead and play that. This is kind of funny.
I believe you'll either be explaining to your grandchildren what freedom was or what censorship was. I believe freedom of speech is the backbone of all the other freedoms. I believe censorship is a pesticide against the human spirit.
Excuse me.
And it's better to keep your spirit organic. I believe that only people who have something to hide will work relentlessly to censor those who speak truth. I believe fear is the virus and bravery is the immune system. I believe letting algorithms guide your human interactions is like using soy to make meat substitutes. It's not the real thing. Plus, tofurkey's gross. I believe that either the Matrix is a metaphor for life or life is a metaphor for the Matrix. But either way, a red pill a day keeps the authoritarians away. I believe encrypted messaging is at least as important as being able to go to the bathroom with the door closed. It's no one else's business but yours. Sorry, NSA. I believe freedom of speech requires you to tolerate all speech, not just the speech you agree with. I believe disobeying unjust mandates should be as intuitive as not eating rotten food. I believe the solution for bad speech isn't no speech, it's more speech. Just like the solution for bad sex isn't no sex, it's more sex. I believe the most valuable currency is human connection.
We're going to wait for this video.
Bitcoin is number 2. I believe centralization keeps you in the captivity of someone else's cage, and decentralization crushes the cage and sets you free. I believe fact checkers
We can stop this and then replay it when we get to the end if you want.
Are you there, Kevin?
Kevin, are you on the line still? Hello, Kevin?
Hello. I heard him just a little bit ago.
Yeah, he was on there a second ago.
Bear with us, everybody.
Well, I guess we could
just a little bit of techno problems.
Yeah, let's just keep playing the video and see if we can get it straightened out.
And they'd benefit humanity more if they spent their time planting flowers. I believe the only place censorship has in society is in silent meditation retreats. Even that's questionable. I believe that if every once in a while you're not asking yourself which side of history you're on, then you're probably on the wrong side of history. I believe free speech is what fertilizes intelligence. I believe tech companies should not have your personal data because they don't deserve it. And it's called personal data for a reason. I believe if you don't pay for the product, then they're making you into the product, even though they don't tell you that. I believe new companies pledging not to censor their users isn't good enough. Companies that can't censor their users is the answer. I believe freedom is the gift that makes life worth living. I believe it's time to wake up and take massive action so your grandchildren won't have to be told what freedom was. Your words, actions, attention, and voting with your money matters. It's time to be bold, brave, live in integrity with your heart and alignment with freedom. The time is now, my friend.
Okay, that's
Thank you
it
for watching
that.
this
Go ahead and
video, Mike.
shut it off. And so we got Kevin back with us yet?
I think they're still working on it. Not sure.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
I
Are you there,
I
Kevin?
hear him.
Yeah.
I think are you there, Kevin?
Yeah, I'm super sorry. I don't know what happened.
Oh well, listen. Let's get back to it as quickly as possible.
Well,
the first question
got cut off was about getting rid of the emergency.
Right, that's where I was headed.
Yeah.
Was the question is with the Emergency Authorization Act by put into place by Governor Mussolini down there in Sacramento, would you revoke that with a vote on the board?
Well, yeah, 100%.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
I mean, what? Yeah, I mean, the path we're on now is, I mean, this is just going to be a slow, arduous bleed out of a death.
I agree.
I mean, if we keep going along with this, and this was my whole point about wanting to align with Tom Patty in San Joaquin County, and a gentleman I've never met. But when people start wanting to stand up to the government and they say, yeah, we're just not going to do this anymore, if we started to do it collectively as a bunch of counties at once, change might actually happen. It's like you look at Southwest Airlines and some of these other places where pilots or flight attendants have just said, no, we're not doing it. And then all of a sudden they walk back. Okay, maybe we won't make everybody be vaccinated because we're going to lose almost our entire fleet, or such a big piece of it that we won't be able to operate as a company anymore.
I think
we don't push back.
I think ultimately that's what's going to change the tide is the people saying, no, we're not going to comply and you can't make us. And if they've got no support from the public, or at least the big portion of the public saying we're not going to support this and we're going to do whatever we want, I mean, what really can they do?
Exactly. I mean, it's supposed to be we the people, not, hey, you the government.
Right.
And it's, I mean, and again, there's a lot to get caught up with for me because I've been at this now 6 weeks and I've really watched it. I mean, I was really hesitant to want to shut my business down when it started. We actually had a really, really big event scheduled for the Monday following that Thursday when they finally said, okay, everybody needs to shut it down. And for me, it was like, okay, 2 weeks, it makes sense. I want to be responsible. And it was also, there was a part of me that said, I'm not really quite sure what to make of all this. So just in the best of for my employees and the people we serve, it's like, we'll do this and we'll see how it goes. But I had people in my family that, I mean, didn't flinch, didn't wince, and they just kept doing normal stuff.
Right.
And,
I think the answer is not to shut everything down because this is the first time we've handled this virus this way, any virus this way. And the answer is not to kill the economy. I mean, there's a lot of different answers here, but killing the economy, is what they've been doing. And, so if you kill the economy and nobody can survive anyway because there's no bread on the table, I mean, so you survived what?
Exactly. Well, I mean, it's that expression. You'd rather die on your feet than live on your knees.
There you go.
And that's exactly kind of where I finally arrived after 18 plus months of doing this. It's like I'm just not okay. Like if it ever came to it where I can't operate my business because I refuse to enforce masks. I mean, I have clients that I consult for with gyms in Canada, and there's a gym in right outside of Toronto that it's brutal. Like everybody's got to be vaccinated, and I believe it's 12 and up or 13 and up, and it's just bad, and it's really, really bad. And so, and you look at where we are now, and of course, California is one of the worst states, but still the rest of the country is looking at us. They're looking at New York. They're wanting to see what we do. And if we don't start pushing back like really, really hard, and not as one-off counties every now and then, but I think collectively a bunch of counties need to start getting together. And I think the leadership of those counties need to be pushing that. And I know, Patrick has been very vocal in that, and of course, opening up the board chambers. And I think there's more people rallying to that.
Right.
I don't necessarily. I mean, Patrick and I haven't had these long conversations about what he believes on every issue, but I'll definitely say I'm very aligned with him when it comes to, what liberty truly means, and it's people's right to choose some of this stuff. And I think I'll be the first to intercede for somebody being bullied for wearing a mask. If you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. That's great. That's up to you. But don't put that on me, and don't put that on, don't say you're doing it for me, because you're not doing anything for me. You can't exercise for me. You can't drink water for me. You can't do any of that stuff. So I don't need you to do anything. Just take care of you, and I'll take care of me.
Okay. We have a few questions we want to go over with you, Kevin, if you don't mind. And one is, so
Sure.
Would you say that's the number one issue, to bring it back locally? Is that the number one issue at the local level, is the vaccines and mask mandates? Or what do you think is the number one issue that you would try to tackle when you're elected?
Well, yeah, immediately it's going to be child welfare in terms of, their right to a free education that's not driven by the state. So initially that might be masks and mandates, but anything that is going to get in the way for kids, especially lower socioeconomic kids, not having an opportunity to an equal education, like that's one of the most important things. And what I'm seeing right now, a lot of that does fall into the mask and vaccine conversation.
I think fear is what this is all about, is keeping everybody in fear. I mean, you look at what's going on even with the new variant, the Omicron. It's just another deal. Everybody's kind of getting, and the gal that discovered it in South Africa is saying it's like the flu. It's got this, not even like the flu. It's like you get a couple sniffles. It's not serious at all. And Fauci's talking about a permanent lockdown already. So anyway, we need to push back. But what about the Second Amendment? Where are you at on the Second Amendment? Are you for open carry? Where are you on that?
Well, I mean, our Constitution actually it makes it pretty clear about open carry versus concealed. We don't necessarily, or shouldn't be asking the government if we can carry a weapon. It's our right. But for me, I have a CCW. I got it in 2015. So I mean, I'm obviously very pro Second Amendment. So
okay, good.
It's go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish your sentence.
No. I was just going to say, I know sometimes when you get into actually constitutional law and you look at, open carry, where, like technically we should be able to open carry, but I know it's been said by past sheriffs that it makes deputies or officers nervous. Well, that really becomes more of something on them than more so.
Right. Yeah, it's a training issue as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
It's a training issue. Yeah, but it's something that I think if guns were less taboo, then there wouldn't be a problem. I mean, if you were to walk around Jerusalem, you see 12 and 13-year-olds carrying rifles.
We carried when I was a kid, we carried rifles and pistols everywhere we went, all over the place. Nobody cared.
Yeah, down to education.
It's just what you're used to. But the left wing and the liberals and the Marxists, they have to try to put fear into that right so that they can eliminate it. Is what the goal is, right. I believe.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's yeah, absolutely.
And another question: what about auditing the board of the county books? How do you sit with that?
I think that's got to be done like forensically. I don't think you can just get an in-house audit, or you could just get
a
Joe Schmo CPA firm. Yeah, I think you need to get. And again, there may be CPAs or tax law firms in Reading that could do it. I don't know of any personally, but I haven't dealt with any But an outside group really needs to come in and comb through a lot.
Well,
Right.
they passed this last budget. They passed the $600 million budget. They didn't even look at it.
Yeah,
I mean, how crazy is that?
But again, yeah, that's why this June primary and then this next November election is going to be very, very big. I mean, there's two seats up for grabs. Of course, District 2. There's a recall. If that goes through, then I think we're going to see definitely a different direction of leadership there. And then I think District 1 and District 5, those races are super important, because if people want what they've always been given, continue to vote for candidates that are just like the rubber stamp ones we've had. And I think if we get, and when I say we, I'm talking about the people that are just pissed off and are tired of seeing all this money spent, especially individuals like me who are small business owners that don't either we make it or we don't. And if we don't make it, then we got to go do something else. And that's not what we're seeing in our city, in our county governments, is we just have so much money that's being doled out with no accountability. And then, I mean, if you had a CEO that was running over budget of a company, they'd be gone. The shareholders they'd be gone. But what we do is we just give raises, or we just spend more money,
or create offices,
increase those pensions.
Well,
and we create offices. Yeah,
yeah, we create an office.
We're not even talking about McGraney and everything yet, but I want to go into I want to talk about redistricting a little bit here, because I was actually on the redistricting committee, and we spent quite a bit of time going over these maps and these districts, and trying to comply with the law. It's mandated by law that you have this committee that gives input from the public and so forth, and creates these districts so that they match up from a population standpoint. So we submitted two plans, expecting minor variations in those plans because the supervisors have the final say. Well, it's really interesting that as soon as those plans got to the supervisors, they got completely thrown out, the two that we had done, and they revamped it. And interestingly enough, on the revamp, you got three of the candidates that were going to be running are no longer in the districts that they were living in prior to this map change. And it's not approved yet, and it has to be finalized by the board. But I mean, it's hard not to suspect some hanky-panking, and something, we all know where it's coming from. I mean, it's pretty obvious that somebody has gone in there and with malice, in my opinion, tried to corrupt the map for their political ends, which, by the way, is illegal. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I don't have too much information in terms of the redistricting process. I know they've been doing it for a little while. I've been to a couple of the meetings recently. I mean, for me, I can't really speak as to one way or the other, and here's why: is because I've never met the people that are doing the redistricting. If they were people that I'd known for years and I knew them to be integrous, very well thought, well spoken individuals, and then it happened like that, I would give them the benefit of the doubt. But here's the thing: I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt because I don't have any interaction with them, and I'm very much you're innocent until proven guilty. So.
Well, I agree with that, but I actually was on the committee, and there was 5 members of the redistricting committee, and that's why I'm kind of bringing it up, because I mean, we did a bunch of work for nothing.
But weren't you guys appointed by the Board of Supervisors from each district?
Each district. So I'm in Patrick Jones's district. He appointed me, and then there was 4 other corresponding people that were appointed by the different directors. I mean, the different supervisors in those districts, and so there's 5 of us there, and we sat through, and gosh, I swear I'm going to start remembering to turn my phone off.
That was, my thing. Not that makes a difference with their character necessarily, but they were appointed out of the district from that Board of Supervisor. So I have a little bit of issue that they just threw it out, so to speak.
Well, if we look at most of the votes in the past year, 18 months, have been 3-2 or 4-1, right? 3-2, 4-1. That's been pretty standard. So I think, going forward, hopefully, and that's why I'm running. I'm not running because, I'm part of one faction or I'm part of one group or another. I just want fiscal responsibility. I want people to be able to make the change with their vote. And I think that's the problem, is that right now we have so many people that don't have our best interest in mind. And that's why I think we're going to see, even for a June election, a June primary, or even for this recall in February, I think we're going to see tremendous voter turnout, because I think people are really sick and tired of the direction of Shasta County. It just keeps spiraling down. And the thing is, a lot of good families are leaving. And what's happening is we're getting families from the Bay Area or LA moving because they want to be in California, and they come up here and say, well, the crime's not that bad. Well, to us here in Shasta County, the crime is terrible, but it's not bad compared to San Francisco, Oakland, or Los Angeles. So what's happening is we're losing all these good families that have been in Shasta County, that love Shasta County. And so our numbers may not be dropping, but we're swapping people that are, I would say, leaning much farther left than leaning right. And if we don't stop this now with some of the big decisions that are coming up, Shasta County is going to look entirely different in 5 years, because a lot of people want to make Shasta County like a bigger city. And I would tell them, if you want to make it a bigger city, then move there. Move to Cleveland, move to San Antonio, move somewhere like that.
Well,
most of
these bigger cities are failing at this point, and that might be a lot of them are trying 100%. To escape, but they're trying to bring their politics, and we are on a percentage basis. I was looking at the stats the other day. Shasta County's getting up there in the high crime rate in a percentage to the population, but it's not like San Francisco, where you've got an overwhelming a population of homeless and of drug addicts and that type of thing, or LA, where it's so big that you can't even stop it. But you'd think that they would wise up to not bring those politics with them, but I'm not sure that that's the case in a lot of instances.
And going back to your original question about the redistricting, I mean, for me, I think I would love to know exactly how those things were drawn. I mean, I hear what they say in open meetings. Right. But again, you don't know what happens behind closed doors, or who's saying what. It is interesting how in District 2, I just know of Tim Garman, who is no longer by I think it was Plan E that the board
right.
has from the preliminary standpoint said, okay, it looks like Plan E might be something they might look to move forward with. But Tim, who's a friend of mine, who's running in District 2 to replace Modi. He won't be in that district. So, I'll say when he wins in February, he's going to have to decide in 3 years, is he going to move, and then be in District 2, or is he just going to, serve out the remainder of this 3-year term?
Well, we know for a fact, being in on those meetings, that that new revision number, whatever it is, the Schedule E of the redistricting, wasn't even on the table when we left it at that. That was changed, and it was changed by the staff at the request of someone. Now, we know it wasn't Patrick. Okay, and so it had to be one of the other fours, because I talked to Patrick about this, and he said he was shocked and surprised when that came up at the last meeting as well. And so the staff is being directed by somebody, and that only leaves 4 people left. And so it's either Les, it's either Mary, it's either Joe, or it's Moti. And when you start narrowing things down, it's hard not to start pointing a finger. Now, I get the benefit of the doubt.
Somebody else, though, is one of my questions.
No.
Would it have to be the Board of Supervisors?
Yes.
Or could it be Cruz or somebody else that gave the directive?
The only other place would be the elections office, Kathy Darling, but she really doesn't do that. That's not in her purview. So it's the staff that's doing it, and they're at the behest of the Board of Supervisors. So all it takes is one board member to go down there and say, hey, I'd like to do it this way, and present it to the board. So, that does narrow it down, and maybe you can't convict somebody on that. But I'll tell you what, it wouldn't be hard to get to the bottom of it if there was a little bit of an investigation going.
100%. I agree.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting that it knocks 3 of them out of the districts, which is
just a coincidence.
Yeah, Was it by design? We don't have any proof, but it's just kind of funny that would happen. And from my understanding with the new one, a lot of times there's people, like, for example, like say their front yards in one district and their backyards in another district.
Well, that's Del Ball's one of the people that's running, and they split him right down the line.
Yeah,
so he's got so on one side of his street is one district now, and the other side is another district that he's living in. I mean, how
crazy is that? Yeah.
Well, I mean, to say that's not intentional is a stretch as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, and see, I didn't even know that about Dale.
So,
there's three of them that it will affect.
No matter how you slice the pie here, there's a ton of corruption going on, and if they're corrupt in all these other areas of spending and the money, and we've seen it. We've seen Modi, getting malfeasance, grand jury conviction on that when it should have been malfeasance, not misfeasance, and all of these things. When you start adding up one thing after another, I'll tell you what, it's not hard to point a finger at somebody.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Here's another question that we get asked, or I get asked quite a bit. Where do you sit with raising taxes? Everybody talks about a new jail, and we need this, and we need, to open up mental health areas and things like that.
This is where, so this is what I'd say about when it comes to taxes. We have a budget of $600+ million in Shasta County. And it was $300 million, I believe, less than 15 years ago, 12, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And we have
it's doubled.
10,000 more. Yeah, 10,000 more residents, give or take.
Right.
And of course, you can adjust for inflation. I think the most important thing before taxes is even spoken about is you do that forensic audit. You figure out how much money is being wasted and just pissed away on programs that have been proven they don't work over the last 10, 20 plus years.
Right.
And then you look at how much money's left there, and then you start to say, okay, what can we tackle with that amount of money before you ever talk about raising taxes? I mean, we live obviously in California, which is one of the most taxed states around. Mm-hmm. I don't mind personally, if it can be proven of what's being done with the money, but that I can't even speculate as to right now with a $600 million budget that there's not money available where taxes wouldn't have to be raised on anything, and we have enough money within our current budget as is to be able to make the changes we want to make.
Well, it's funny because we talk about that and the CARES money that came in on the $18 million, and that was distributed, partly like $3 or $4 million to the businesses and through the Chamber of Commerce. And the Chamber of Commerce is run by Jake Mangus. Our news media is run by Mike Mangus. And to think, and we're wondering why we're not getting any reports on any of this stuff. And so the question is, and then the Chamber of Commerce comes back and helps fund the recall opposition movement, and I tell you what,
why were they involved in that whole process with the CARES money?
So what do you have any thoughts on that, Kevin?
Yeah, I've never been in the chamber. I have nothing against the chamber, but for me, I just haven't had a real use for it. I think if the chamber is getting into political circles, I mean, that would make no sense to me, because really business isn't about political lines. Business is about profitability and adding value to the community and I don't want to say constituents, but the citizens. So, if the Chamber of Commerce and Jake or whoever else has any part of that in terms of backing a recall or backing in support of not the recall, that shouldn't even be a thing. Of course it is, and that's some of the corruption that I'm kind of really disenfranchised and disheartened to learn of what's happened over the last 20, 30, 40 years as you look at McConnell's and what's been done to the Rancheria. It's a shame. It really is. It's just a shame. And I'm really excited about speaking to that much more publicly after the first of the year. I had 2 more conversations with a couple of individuals that, they know the call is coming. They know that I know some things now that I didn't know 10, 15, not 20 years ago, but, 12 to 15, 16 years ago. And once I have those two conversations, then I want to really talk publicly about what I've learned and how money's being spent, because I was at some events where, I don't know. I mean, I've trained a lot of people's kids over the last 20 years, and I've been in a lot of different conversations that really, thinking back, I was pretty naive and ignorant to think that, everybody was just caring about everybody and everything was on the up and up. And hey, we're in a free market society. I'm a capitalist. I want to make money, but I want to do it the right way, and I don't want to do it at the expense of my neighbor. Yeah.
Okay, so listen, Kevin,
and that's what happened. That's what happened in Shasta. That's what happened in Shasta County.
Right.
Too many public officials, too many leaders, too many people that have ran certain organizations have sold their neighbors and everybody else out, and that's why I think you'd see a lot of people that they're in city government, or maybe not government, but a city position or a county position, and then they move out of the area because they know eventually it's going to get out what they did, the money they spent, the kickbacks they received, whether legal or illegal. If you look at what's moral, it's really a shame. It's what happened. That's where we're starting to uncover and look at when you look at the convention center and rodeo grounds.
Well, look, Idaho Tom, I mean, he got his pension and he left. And so, but we're running out of time, Kevin. We got about, 8 minutes left. And so how do people get a hold of you to help you in your campaign and Facebook and all that kind of stuff?
Website, phone numbers, what you got?
Yep. We have, you can go to votekevincrye.com. That's CRYE. So votekevincrye.com. You can sign up to definitely help when we start canvassing neighborhoods. If you want to donate, you can do that there as well. You can also go, I have a Facebook page that's up. Not much is on it yet. I really wanted to get through Thanksgiving before we went too heavy on it. And my phone number, it's anywhere, but it's 530-524-0005. And you can give me a call, or you can always stop by my office at the mall there in the Ninja Gym, which is an outside entrance in between Sprouts and Macy's.
And that's 530-524-0005.
Correct.
Absolutely, yeah. And I would encourage people to just get involved. I mean, really, and I don't say that just like really like passively or trite. It's like, if somebody sees something that needs to be changed, even at a school district, that's where it's going to start. It's going to start on a very low level. Or if they can't run for an office, they could donate to your podcast, $10, $25. Donate to a campaign of somebody that you believe in what they're saying and you want to see them go forward. I mean, we just have to, I think people just have to start saying there's got to be something I can do. And it doesn't have to be running for an office.
Right.
It could be just holding a sign. It could be passing some things out. It could be putting up a flyer at your business, or just getting involved and being a voice, because that's the only way we're going to save our county. And I hope it starts at the beginning of February with the recall of Modi.
Very good. Well, we got about 6 minutes left here. So,
and I have to agree with him. It's time for people to get plugged in. I do know if people go look, whether there's a lot of offices coming up in 22, whether it's Board of Supervisors, school boards. There's a lot of different areas that people can get plugged into, because some of them have never had anybody run against them. Just that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So you can start somewhere with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's not the it's the only thing that's gonna get us back what we want. And again, I'm super progressive in terms of I want our areas to be safer. I want parks. I want some of the things that maybe we take for granted. But we don't need any more huge shopping centers or
wind projects.
Yeah, exactly. Or vanity projects where people just say, oh well, we'll fund it this way, or we'll just we just pass the buck, and then the more things that we fund that we can't afford, it just straps our kids and our grandkids with more debt in the county. Right. And then when the next coronavirus comes, and then they say, hey, your county will get X amount, but you have to have police in the streets not letting people out of their houses, and we'll give you this much money. That's what some of our leaders would do. They'd say, oh, well, we'll just do it for a year because then we'll have everything paid off.
Right.
And I'm just not up for that. I'm not up for the reckless spending and the social programs. And I think our area is beautiful. I think if we just cleaned up what we already have, I think Shasta County will flourish again.
What about that big, beautiful courthouse?
Well,
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Spending money. Anyway.
Yeah,
Oh my
well, we
gosh.
could have
Yeah.
had a jail and stop some of this crime. And you know what's interesting is we're probably better off than a ton of other cities that want to defund the police and everything. But I don't know. Anyway, we're down to about 4 minutes here. If you got anything left, Kevin, go ahead. And otherwise, we're going to end the podcast here in a couple minutes.
Yeah, well, no, I just really appreciate you guys asking me to come on and being a part of it. You guys are doing the work that's necessary to get the information out to people that really been asleep for a long time. And those of us that, and I'll put myself in there too. It's really shame on me, but it's really only shame on me if I felt convicted to run and didn't.
Right.
And so I think as people continue to wake up to a deeper level of really what's gone on, I think you're going to see more and more people start to really want to get involved. And I would really implore people to really keep your eyes and ears open of what that meeting's going to have tonight at the Shasta County Office of Education, because that's what's going to craft how our kids are going to be learning in the next few years. And it doesn't matter what they say when it comes to the state. You know, the state says this, we got to do that. It doesn't matter. If we in Shasta County don't agree with it, then we need to rally around our educators and make the changes that we want to make and just buckle down and do it. And I don't know what that looks like, but I know masking our children is not the answer. No matter what the outcome is, masking our children and then giving them mandatory vaccinations is not the answer.
Yeah, I think that's going to be an absolute. Looking at the stats, looking at the science, the real science, that's going to be an absolute disaster if we go that direction.
Well, we want to thank you for coming on, Kevin, and we'd like to have you back, and maybe in person
That'd
when
be
you're
good.
back in town, and maybe after the holidays would be good, so we can talk some more and discuss some more topics.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you
guys so
very much.
for doing what you do.
All right. Have a good
thank
trip.
you.
Thanks a lot, Kevin.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So we're pretty much at the end. We want you to hit the like button. We need you to share the content. You need to smash
the bell.
the bell for notifications. Go to the chat room. The chat room's up and running on YouTube. I'm not too sure about Facebook.
I'm in there, but I don't see anybody else, so I don't know.
So we need to get that
we'll
promoted.
keep checking
We
it.
start at 11 o'clock on Mondays now, so you can go to the chat rooms when we're live and do that.
And again, if you want to send a donation, you can send it to 14421 Old Oregon Trail, Suite B, Redding, California, 96003.
And make it out to Pecan, Patriots Educating Concerned Americans Now, and put in the memo
Media. Any little bit helps.
I think
we want to.
I think we're there. I don't have anything else here. I guess we.
Don't forget, if you want to take a pair of shoes, $430 today,
Right.
over by Axner's. It's on Innsbruck or
I don't
Drive. INNSBRICK, I think.
UCK Innsbruck.
Is it Brook?
Yeah, I think it is.
But over there by Axner's, drop off a pair of shoes. So,
Well, I guess we're at the end. We might as well call it. So,
Yep.
Government is not reason. It is not eloquence. It is force, and force like fire is a dangerous servant and a fearful master. We'll be doing these podcasts every Monday at 11 o'clock for the live, and then I guess they get posted fairly quickly now, up and running. So we're just about there. We're about up
getting
and
there.
running. We're getting there. And you guys have a great day,
and we'll
see you next week.